Good evening, YouTube. Warbles on a lot here, and I'd like to have a little bit of an update on the movie I put up yesterday regarding autism and atheism. Had a fairly phenomenal response. Once again, it proves that there is in fact a clique on the internet, on YouTube, who are more reactionary than the antinatalists and the amendamites. They are called the Atheists. 2 movies about atheists. Both times the atheists have hit the dislike button more fanatically than any of the amendamites have ever managed to. I think that's interesting. Another thing I thought was very interesting was that conference report Fred answered a question of mine when I said I don't know if anybody's done any research on adult atheists and compared them to people who do have God theories, and found out if there's any connection between atheism and autism, whereas the research I quoted in the New Scientist article, it found a very strong link, 90% correlation between autism and atheism in teenagers. So, Fred, conference report, thank you very much for telling me that you've posted a link, and I haven't looked at it because I only go on YouTube, and last night I was absolutely flat out trying to keep up with the comment thread. But Fred's posted research where somebody has tested adult atheists, adult Christians and adult Jews, and proportionally the atheists, according to Fred, what he said to me on the comment thread, the adult atheists display a higher level, statistically higher I'm assuming, a higher level of autism traits than either Christians or Jews. So I said to Fred that I thought that was, pretty much what you'd have to expect, given the first 4 studies done at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And I suggested straight off the top of my head as a first cut analysis, maybe atheism is being conserved as a genetic trait in the same way that male pattern baldness is being conserved as a genetic trait, or colour blindness is being conserved as a genetic trait. And I'm going to dare to say this, in the same way that same-sex attraction is being preserved as a genetic trait for the good of the human herd. Now, the evolutionary biologists say that it is so because it's there. There are people who say that it's a good idea to have one person in a platoon to be colourblind because they're really good at seeing through colour-based camouflage. So therefore, once upon a time, back in the way back when, for a human tribe to be successful, you had to have one of the men be colourblind. I have no idea what the survival adaptation feature is in being bald. I suspect that same-sex attraction means that you've got some uncles and aunts who are not producing offspring of their own, but they're perfectly happy to expend their resources and capital and time on the offspring of their siblings or their cousins. So I can see the survival benefits in conserving genes for same-sex attraction. What are the survival benefits for conserving genes for atheism? Well, the Spanish Inquisition was cooked up by people who had an absolutely fanatical belief that because they believed in a God theory, then therefore anything they did or wanted to do was condoned by their God theory. And maybe society needs some atheists as a counterweight. Something to restrain the more fulminating Fruit Loops at the evangelistic end of the God theory part of the congregation. I refer to atheism as a religious belief, and I mean it, because it's a belief about God. Any belief about God is a religious belief. Science is not about beliefs. The scientific method of problem solving is that a curious person observes something which piques their curiosity. They attempt to figure out what the hell they've seen. They form an hypothesis. The number of hypotheses to explain any given observation is officially infinite. An hypothesis graduates to become a theory if it is capable of making a prediction testable by experiment. Theories are tested by experiment, and if every experiment known or imaginable comes up within an acceptable margin of error of the prediction made by the theory, then eventually your theory becomes law. Alright? Einstein's theory of relativity has never been turned into a law. Newton's law of gravity has been turned into a law. Betz's law of the available power in the wind has been turned into a law. Okay? That's the scientific method of problem solving. I was taught it in high school in biology, and I did a year and a half of straight biology because I changed schools 3 times and I did no chemistry or physics. I did a lot of biology. Okay, I got to learn the scientific process pretty bloody good in high school. So well that when I went nursing and they told us about a brand new marvellous idea cooked up in the excited states, sold to us with a Texan accent, called the nursing process, which was assess, plan, implement and evaluate, I recognised the nursing process as being nothing but the scientific method of problem solving with a serial number filed flat and given a new coat of paint. A streamlined version. Alright? Science is not about belief. Atheism is about a belief that no God exists or can exist. Therefore, atheism is a religious belief. And all religious beliefs are nothing but hypotheses. God hypotheses. I suspect there are only 2 possible God theories available to consider. The powerful God hypothesis, the not a sparrow shall fall without the Creator being aware style of a thing, and the powerless God hypothesis, the kind of thing where somebody who gets paid to stand up and wear robes and regalia and carry out rituals, like the Pope of Rome, has an armed guard at his door, or at the end of the corridor, or at the front door of the building, or at the front gate of the complex, in the wall of the enclosure. Why does the Pope of Rome have an armed guard when the 23rd Psalm says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil"? It's because the Pope does not trust his God theory. The Pope is what I would call a behavioural atheist. Right? He behaves as if he has no faith. That's why he has an armed guard. So you see, Fred, if you add the Pope onto the atheists, and if you consider the Queen of England, the head of the Church of England, does she depend on her God theory for her safety, or does she depend on the British Army, the British Navy and the Royal Air Force? Interesting, you see. The head of the Church of England is a practising behavioural atheist. Then you take all the people who go into their church or their synagogue, and the ones who go into the churches, they say something along the lines of, "We believe in one God the Father, the Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth, the creator of all things seen and unseen." And they say they follow the Mosaic tenets, where it says you're only allowed to have one God, and it says thou shalt not commit usury, and it says thou shalt not kill. But they go to work in the economy, trashing the environment to make more profit faster so they can pay the tax to support the government that fields an army to do their killing for them, so that they can pay the insurance, which is, as far as I can see, economic God theory for atheists, to insulate them from the consequences economically of living in a manner which offends planet Earth and the natural systems. They go to work in order to earn the money to pay the interest on the loans that they've taken out against the commandment, thou shalt not commit usury. All right? It's very hard for me to see that any alleged Christian who pays tax to a government that fields an army which kills, any alleged Christian that pays interest on their loan, any alleged Christian who doesn't even try to keep the 10 Commandments. I mean, that's without looking at adultery. That's without looking at whether they honour their father and their mother. It's without looking at any of the other of the commandments. But usury and killing and one God, I mean, that goes back to Zarathustra, prophet of Zoroaster, back when Hammurabi was developing the building code in Babylon. So, if you're not going to keep the tenets of your religion, how can anybody claim that when your life fucks up, it proves that religion doesn't work? I would have thought that alleged Christians who pay tax, who have interest-bearing loans, and who have insurance policies, I would say they're not Christians. They're not keeping the tenets of their God theory, so what they are is a behavioural atheist. You know, they're like somebody who says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for my God maketh me to lie down and smoke the good grass that grows beside the river. Versus somebody who says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of the shattered vandalised street lamps, I shall fear every imaginable evil, for I am paranoid. Therefore, my commissioner issueth me with a bulletproof Kevlar flak jacket, a 16-shot semi-automatic sidearm, a collapsible riot baton, a taser, a can of capsicane, a radio with a secure link to a base station, a Browning 16-shot riot control shotgun in the boot of the cruiser, and a buddy so that we can stand back to back and quiver in terror. Right? Either you have a God theory that you trust, or you put your faith in trying to hide behind the hole in the barrel that the projectile comes out of, and you are going to attempt to hide a cubic foot of vital meat behind a quarter of a square inch of muzzle area. In my view, cost efficiency wise, it's so much simpler to just accept that the creator of the universe is capable of designing a butterfly, operating a continuous hydrogen fusion reactor 93 million miles away from the fucking idiots who might fiddle with the settings on it, and therefore probably capable of keeping me safe. When I go to town, I ask if my hut can be left alone. Nobody to burgle it or bust it up with a stick or stir it up or burn it. And I go to town and I come home and my hut's safe. I ask if no trees can fall on my roofs, on my fences, on my water storage, on my power storage, and I come home and it's all safe. I expect that if anybody really wants to shoot me in the headlights, they'll crash their car on the way here, they'll shoot themselves in the foot, you know, they'll get a cold and won't get out of bed. I trust the creator of the universe to keep me safe, and it seems to work pretty bloody well. I walk barefoot on the forest floor, the local snakes leave me alone, and if there's any cranky, transient snakes with a bad opinion of humans who don't know I'm harmless, well, that's when the wild birds call it out, warn me, and different wild birds go and fight with the snake to keep it away from me. But here's a funny thing. Today I was cutting firewood, and as I said, I'm not even a fucking Christian! And I swung the axe and I hit the wood. The jagged end of the piece of yellow box, and I think this is the one that did it, it hit me in the centre of the top lip. I'm assuming you can see that there. I've got puncture marks from the splinters from the wood, and I've got cuts from the teeth on the inside, and my teeth are hurting all the way out to the ears. That's how hard it hit. So I don't know which one of you atheists is so good with the voodoo dolls, but can you pretty please stop casting spells in my direction? You got me in the face that time. Ciao.